And we will try to screw it up less next time, although we can't possibly screw it up as badly as the city is screwing this up. Well, the city didn't screw it up because they had a successful election today. Welcome to special edition This Week in Worcester podcast. I'm Tom Reno, editor of This Week in Worcester. This is John Edward Keogh. He is a valued and featured contributor to This Week in Worcester, as well as president of Hollywood Film Group and executive producer at Manning J Media. Hi,
That's
John.
right. Hello,
Results.
sir.
What did we learn?
Instant analysis. What did we learn? I think I don't know that there's any other way you could take these results for the at-large election and say that the majority that has kind of dominated Worcester politics for the last 20 years is on notice. What I saw today, they are absolutely 100% on notice. You may have a changing of the guard. The fact is that where you see the numbers in a preliminary election now, we're talking about just for at-larges. We had none of the district candidates. I think you saw strength from outsiders in Gary Rosen, who's a unicorn. He has his own special powers. But in Jamal Kamara, I don't know how you can look at this other than a victory for Jamal, showing her strength in the city of Worcester and her ability to put together a really, I would think that you and I are not surprised by it because I saw her and you saw her working her butt off constantly on the doors. And this campaign didn't just start this year. She's been running this campaign since she lost the school committee, and she's been building these relationships out in the city for a couple of years now. And what I see is a show of strength. Because remember, there are several district races where Jamal is probably highly featured. And I think that you may have seen a changing of the guard in the at-large city council race, or at least an indication of it. I mean, anything can happen. There's 2 months. But it's a victory for Jamal. And I bet that the traditional six, are probably a little nervous.
Weird. I would say that, Bergman is stronger than he has been, at least if you consider what place he's in. He's been in the 4th to 6th for the last couple cycles. So, I mean, him being third is new. Gary Rosen still got it, obviously. That Christian finishes 4th. He was 3rd in the last general. I mean, that's different. It's not much movement, but it's movement. But yeah, I think the story is Gemma. That's what hard work gets you.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. And also, she's connecting with voters, right? She's connecting with people right now. This is something that is that's happening. Live, is that she's making a difference, and we heard that across the board, and this had made its way to some more maybe traditional media sources, right? That maybe aren't the same as you and I. Even Hank Stolz was recently talking about the strength of Jamal and what she's able to do. She's just a She just really, really showed out. It is what it is. There's really no other way to say it. She showed out.
Yep.
She did great. And I would congratulate her team. And then I saw the post that she made afterwards, which was basically, hey, now it's time to get to work, which is just an indication of, her commitment to what's going on. So I think it's a victory for Gemma. And I think that I think that again, it now opens up what could happen in the district races. So what are we going to see in the district races? I think that you have a strong incumbency in Attell, and if her, kind of
Well,
the
hold on,
enthusiasm.
hold on. Let's not go there yet. I mean, there's other stuff to see. I mean, the problem here is that Mitra hasn't even started to spend his money yet, and he's got, for municipal race, he's got practically infinite money, and I'm not sure what Donna Clario's situation is money wise, but I'd imagine, like most of the incumbents, that she's banking it.
So I mean, according to his campaign, he did spend a ton of money. He spent almost 20 grand already on a massive text message campaign. And if you go look at Worcester Twitter, what's left of it, Worcester Blue Sky, and Worcester Facebook, it was a massive turnoff for people. There were people who posted. There was at least a dozen people that I saw today that posted that Dr. Mitra's text messages made them not vote for him.
Really?
That was happening live, yes, because none of them signed up for it. So he bought those emails off a list.
Bought a list, yeah.
Yeah, bought a list, and people are still offended by that. And I think that that's a thing. I got the messages. I saw them come in. It was only 2 candidates that I got the text messages from, which was Dr. Mitra and I think Bernard. And Bernard obviously didn't finish in the top 12, but those are the 2 big buyers. I would say that I expected Dr. Mitra to finish higher with the amount of money that he had. But again, he didn't have a ground game. I didn't see him anywhere as far as door knocking is concerned. And I do think that still goes a long way. Standouts and door knocking are the way to Worcester's heart often. And Gary Rosen and Gemma,
standout master.
They have proved that, right? If the results hold, it is, to me, it's a change. Out of the at-large councils. I don't know what will happen in the district races. What I'm saying is that some of the district races, if they kind of stay the same, it could be a tighter 6-5, maybe still kind of in the Joe Petty camp. But there's a potential if there's another flip somewhere or 2, right? Because there's some races out there that maybe you have the opportunity for a coalition. Now, I don't want to say that. I don't want to use the word progressive, because I don't know that that's true, because I don't know that Rob and Keith necessarily fall into what the anti folks were calling, people just in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
But I would say that you might have a coalition that's a very different leaning coalition. So maybe Joe Petty still has strength towards being the mayor, but does that strength lead to a 6-vote block? And if there's a change in the votes on certain topics, I think that's really big for the city of Worcester. That at least there's the possibility, Tom. And I think that this election gives you the potential of something different, and that is really, really hopeful and exciting. I don't know whether it's going to be good. I have no clue, Tom. I don't know. I can't predict the future, but I can say this: it is interesting to see new blood. It is very gratifying to see hard work pay off. I think so. I really do see that. And I think there was some other strong showings that kind of extend into the top 10. And so I think that there are some things to be said about what the future looks like for the city of Worcester's city council.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be different. If you consider Gary now, based on these results, seems kind of likely. If Gary Rosen's going to be, going to take the open seat, I think that changes it a little bit, because he's definitely not going to be firmly on one side or the other of the divide right now.
No, he's a swing vote. He would become probably kind of a central piece. He's going to go some ways, and he's hard to pin down. You can't put Gary in a box. He can't.
Yeah, right. So yeah, well, I mean, I don't see the pendulum switching per se of the majority, but I mean, and I don't know. I think it's interesting that Caden Davis. I mean, he doesn't look all that impressive on the list of votes, but I mean, going from I don't know if anybody's ever heard of him really to 3,200 votes is not nothing. I mean, that trajectory is going to continue, obviously, if he's going to win.
So, I mean, to me, like that's a all right, I did this amount of work and this is what the results are. grab the momentum, grab the excitement behind developing a base that, again, Caden was an unknown. And so
Yeah.
you have an unknown that all of a sudden puts themselves into the top 8. That's a big thing. And so what do you do with those numbers? I mean, um, we've seen other preliminary elections in the past in the at-large field where someone who finishes in the top 8 or 9 can get into the top 6. Come the general election. Normally, that's been like someone who was a traditional, incumbent that just didn't really run in the prelim, right? So they don't really do a lot of running, and then all of a sudden they show out in the general election. But in this case, I think that I don't know that there's anybody like that exists. I mean, I know Donna finished outside of the top 6, so that's kind of a thing. But I think with Donna, you would, now there might be a call to like the more conservative leaning Republican voters of the city of Worcester. Maybe what it would do is generate more excitement for the general. Because I can tell you this, obviously, if you just look at the numbers are abysmal. Only 10% of
Yeah. I mean, it's 10%.
uh, the population turned out. So I mean, those, I mean, and I mean they just made it over the 10%. They really did it with mail-in votings because I think it was 4,400 mail-in and early voters,
Yeah,
and
I mean, that
only,
was what they posted originally before any of the precincts posted. So I didn't
yeah,
I didn't
it
put
was,
that in my story and the results because I wasn't sure, but that's what it looked like.
yeah, I think about 5,600 voters today. So, um, and there was some. I mean, my precinct, I was the warden in 10-6, was only 31 votes. So, and it was brutal. It was slow all day. There was King Street in particular is one of the big parts of that precinct. 2 voters, maybe 3. Um, Murray Ave, that's the second half of Murray Ave when they did the redistricting, they did that terrible cut in the middle of Murray Ave that still doesn't make any sense. But anyways, to create where the water station is on Mead Street, the other 10-5. And so, um, you know, I don't know if anybody really campaigned down there except for Caden Davis and Gemma, right? I didn't see anybody else on Main Street and King Street and District 4. And so again, now you do have a competitive District 4 race. So what does that do? Is Louis going to will Louis' voters come out, and then that adds to this potential difference making voter totals? Again, I think that Joe Petty showed his traditional strength. That's not a surprise that he finished first. I don't think that anybody realistically thought that he was going to finish below first.
You know.
And then Kate's been finishing second now. This is I mean, she's finished second, like half of the last 4 elections or 5 elections or something like that. So she's, that's not a first for Kate. Again, to her traditional voting bloc. A lot of advertising was Kate and Joe kind of combined there. So they did a lot of campaigning together. Not a lot of door knocking, but definitely event based campaigning. So Kate and Joe were both at all the festivals and handshaking, kind of that kind of stuff. And Kate was at every. I mean, I saw Kate in every Joe picture. So I think those voters are probably the same group. I don't think there's a really much big of a difference there. And, I think you're right. Mo Bergman jumping up to third. I mean, that's something that shows he put some effort into this early election, or maybe his voters are energized. And I don't know, how do you analyze him flip flopping with Christian? I don't know. That's I don't know. I don't want to be uncritical of. I think there's a lot of negativity being thrown towards Christian that you see online and that you see in the
Look, I
traditional
mean,
media.
the difference is, not 200 votes. There's less than 100 votes actually.
Yeah, less than 100 votes. So I mean, those are definitely. I really think we both agree that probably it's the crossover between Mo voters and Christian voters is 1%, right? There's like
Yeah,
those are
yeah, it's turnout
diametrically
factor.
opposed.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are turnout. So, I mean, are those voters, Mo voters, also Kate and Joe voters? And again, I don't know. Now remember the numbers that win. If you want to win, you need to get to 10,000, right? If you want to turn out, and the top three is generally 9,500 and above, right? So at least it has been with 20%
Yeah,
turnout.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, there wasn't.
So
I mean, that's the thing is this is a pretty representative sample since, it is I think 0.9%. Like
yeah,
last year it was 9.9%,
yeah,
or 9.91%, something like that. It's very close. It's not even a 10%. Um, to 10% this year, so it's 0.9%.
yeah.
Uh,
What
uh,
you just
and in the last general election, it was only it was less than 20%, just under
right.
20%. So I mean, this is half of the. You'd imagine the vast majority of these people are going to vote again. So it is a representative sample.
Yeah. And then then I do think that there are some really high interest. Maybe the better way to view it is in the district races, there's a lot of interest in several of them, not all of them, right? I think District 3 is not really getting a ton of interest. You know what I mean? I don't see a lot of it. I do see people, throwing name, between Robert and John, but I just don't see a high intensity campaign there in District 3. In District 1, you're starting to see some back and forth between Tony Economou and Keith Lenhare. So there's definitely started to be some sniping that I saw there, and there's some engaged voters on some of the pages out there. I definitely saw that. District 2 has been going on for 4 years now. This will be, this is a long campaign between Rob and Candy, and Rob finished surprisingly close to Candy last time, although Candy did, in the end, her strength won out, her longtime strength in that district. What's going to happen this time around? I don't know. Again, if it, I don't want to speculate because I don't want to say like I'm leaning in one direction, but it is our job to kind of like talk about what if this, what if that. And so I look at District 2 as kind of a bellwether for what you could see happening in this at-large result. Is this at-large result pointing towards what could happen in District 2 and in District 1? If it is, then maybe you will see a changing of the guard, so.
Yeah, a whole bunch of things would have to change. Yeah, you're right. Right. I mean, it's hard.
So,
I think Keith is running a great campaign. It's hard
yeah,
not to think. He's like an uphill battle. I mean, Tony's been the counselor in that district before. That's
yeah,
going to be a tough
yeah.
win.
It's a known. I mean, for all intents and purposes, Tony's running similarly to an incumbent because he has his name recognition,
Right.
and there's an open seat, so it's often a name recognition person is going to get in there. I think he has been running a pretty decent campaign as far as visibility is concerned. He's definitely become visible pretty quickly, and so he's doing a good job of that. That's hard to do in Worcester. The next thing that you would need to see is the 60-day run. We've talked about this a ton of times. Between now and November 4th, the candidates that have been able to elevate in Worcester are always the ones that hit the ground. They got to be out there. They got to be hitting everything. They got to go every event. They're going to be exhausted because that's how you win here. That's how you win. And so that's the other thing is how do you is there a coalition that's built here, Tom? Like, is there a grouping there? Because we've never seen that really in Worcester.
Well, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I think there's I think most people would expect them to agree. Some of those candidates to agree on a lot of stuff when they end up voting, if they were elected, right? But I don't think there's any, much coordination going. I mean, that was tried. It didn't go well.
Right. I mean, so that's what I mean. We haven't seen that be effective in Worcester before, where
Right.
people vote have run as a slate. And in fact, in the last election, there were several people that grouped together, and it did not work. And so
Right.
I feel like these individual. I mean, and I don't. And again, as much as I have seen, again, I just want to repeat it. I've seen Caden Davis and I've seen Gemma be the most active on the ground campaigners this session, right? There's no doubt about that. I don't think anybody questions that. They've seen those two out there, and so that it was rewarded tonight with some obviously with Gemma, and the carryover from election to election is also an indicator in Worcester, right? Often someone will run once and not win, and then they get in the next time because of that name recognition, especially in the at-large seats. In the district races, it's a little different, but that's kind of part of our weird system where we have more at-larges than districts. So it's hard to predict because the districts are shaped weird in our city, right? And so there's no way to know if, like, there's no way to tell if a Louis Ojeda voter is also a Christian Gemma Caden voter. There's no way to predict that in Worcester because there's never been an effective thing. So yeah, so we could talk about the specific numbers. So obviously, so Joe Petty had the highest return with 5,994, so almost 6,000 votes, 12% of the aggregate total. Kate Toomey came in second with 5,144. Again, there's a lot of correlation there, but 10%. They're the only two that crossed into double digits of the aggregate vote totals. Our third finisher, which Tom pointed out, is Mo Bergman with 4,685. So a little bit over 9.5%, and then followed really closely by Gary Rosen with 4,646, so less than 40 votes away, 9.43. Christian 4,590, 9.32. So Christian and Gary are very, very, very close. And then the next person with 4,000 votes or more is Gemma Kamara with 4,052, 8.2% of the vote, and then Donna 3,882. And then Dr. Mitra with 3,406, and then Caden Davis 3,200 to come out with the top 8. Those are the top 8 voters. It drops after that pretty significantly, and so the real thing is what's going to happen in this next section. So we've seen this happen before, Tom, where at large, this happened 6 years ago, where there was a at large election similar to this. The people who finished like 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th, they didn't really campaign in the next section and kind of put their weight behind other people. So that's happened in the past. I just don't know. It's hard to tell what's going to happen after this. I'm sure all the campaigns are analyzing the numbers just like you and I are doing it live right now.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of speak for themselves, really.
Yeah.
It's certainly at large, it's not going to be a seat change. There may be one seat that changes. And then you have an open seat, of course, that changes. Right. So, you could have a two seats change.
Now, in the school committee race, which was the other race, I think what you saw there was Nelly Medina showed some significant strength. I think that again, it's not questioning Noelia's credentials and her campaign. I think she ran a pretty good campaign, but I think the establishment kind of came out for Noelia, and Nelly ran strong. I think it's a strong result to fend off a challenger who's very similarly situated, I guess. Maybe not exactly, but Nelly was losing votes to Noelia and still finished pretty strong. Now, people forget in the last general election with Kathy Roy finished surprisingly strong. It was a surprisingly strong result. People didn't expect it. And so if you look at the combined total, so right now, so Kathy Roy 753, very similar to her general election vote total. Nelly with 597 and Noelia with 432. So, the question remains is those 432 Noelia voters, are they going to go for Nelly? I don't know. I don't know. That's hard. I have a hard time believing they would go for Kathy. So I think that's.
Well, I mean, that split will probably decide it, whatever that split is.
Yeah. So whatever that split is, there's the thing. And there was 3 write-in votes in that race, which is interesting. So, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot to say about, who didn't finish. I mean, Edson Montero probably had a maybe surprisingly lower number, but he still made it to the top 12. So.
Yep. Yeah, I'm still in the game. So yeah, I mean, no, as would be expected. I think that I don't think anybody expected any. There is some surprises, but I don't. I really want Gemma, right? I mean, I don't think anybody. It's really that surprising that Gary is, is still going to get votes.
No, I mean, we've all said that. I don't know that there's a single person that that has said that Gary wasn't gonna show out. Gary is a unicorn. Gary the Unicorn Rosen, that's my new name for him. And he is, and again, look at the numbers that he raised. He doesn't raise a lot of money. Gary just has a good relationship with people, and Gary's campaign slogan has always been, he doesn't owe anybody anything. He truly does,
Nope.
go with his voters. And so now maybe you don't, maybe if you're sitting there watching at home and you're thinking, well, I don't really agree with Gary's positions on some stuff. Gary's one of the people that I know, and I'm telling you this because I see him all the time, is going out. Yeah, that's right, Unicorn Gary, is going out to go talk to him at Price Chopper. Take 5 minutes with Gary and talk to him about a subject. Gary knows every subject. There's no
I don't know about everything in the world, but yeah, he actually knows about policy.
Yeah, he knows policy. Yeah. And he like, so Gary's no joke. So I think, and also I think what you're going to see in the general election is that the folks in what I would say, Gary came in after Sean Rhodes. I have to think he finished stronger than Sean, whatever. I agree with you on that, Mark. I do agree with you. Sean decided not to run. I think Sean definitely got a lot of negative feedback with his announcement. But in particular, at several of the protests, the 50-51 protests, Sean was feeling it from the crowd. There was some unhappy people with Sean. So I can't speculate on what that is, why. But when Gary coming in, I think he has a base that is immediately going to vote for Gary no matter what.
He's really also incredibly likable.
Yeah, he is. He's a likable guy, and he's affable, and he does think things out pretty straight. I think that Gary's base is similar to George Russell's base. George Russell is a guy that has a group of people that like the way that George talks, and so that's just part of being understanding Worcester's electorate and its population. As much as you may feel that you want your ideas to win out, you have to think about how people vote. Some people don't tell you what they're thinking when they vote, right? And so, this year, I even my own vote, and I'm not going to tell you who, but this year I decided to focus on the people that I thought worked the hardest. And that was what in the preliminary. So I gave my votes. I didn't vote policy. I voted effort, and that was what I did. So the 6 people that got my vote were all effort. It was all based on effort that I saw. And so then in the general election, I think my votes will change, including maybe not giving 6 votes out. I don't know, but that's a strategy.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. In the totals was it was an average of 4.3.
Yeah,
based on the empty. So. People picked an average of 4 to 5, of the 6 possible at-large candidates. Yeah.
And I think that's a little bit lower than last time. I think it was like 4.8, if I'm remembering right, in the general, the last general. So I think it was closer to people who were averaging 5. But I mean, if that number tracks down to 4, what you're seeing is people not voting a 6-person slate. They're voting a smaller grouping. And again, that's where you and I have done this analysis for a couple of years now, where again, and I'm using Mo and Christian just as the easiest examples. Mo Bergman voters don't vote for Christian, and Christian voters do not vote for Mo Bergman. It's just there's a very small.
I mean, you would think with but some people may just like them both and not be nerds like us and pay attention to this stuff every day. And there's also that.
Yeah, that's true too. I think that, and it's not to say that the Christian, I don't want to say that the voters don't like either man. I'm saying that they don't necessarily come out in force to vote. But again, this is a preliminary with, as Ash just pointed out, a terrible turnout. So it's really hard to extrapolate it. Although if you look at it in the general election, if you just double the totals, it's pretty much in line with what we need. So
and I think that's and that's going to be the real, to me. Call me Debbie Downer or whatever, but I mean I think that is the sum of it here is that what it was 55% in the national election last year, and so half the people don't vote anyway, but then they did 19. Let's even call it 20. You're losing 30% more. Like you're losing 30% more. I don't expect it to be 50%, but God forbid, 30%. You lose more than half.
Yeah, I mean we do. But I also think again, I mean, the results speak for themselves. We talked about this before. I don't want to go down this wonky road of telling you why I hate the way that the districts are laid out and I hate the way the precincts are laid out. But I've said this in the past. The YMCA precinct, which I was the warden for tonight. In years past, the folks that go to Mead Street used to go there, and I can tell you this, and this is not not politicking either way, but we had 15 or 20 voters who came to the YMCA. It's been the YMCA precinct for 6 years now, and it's been split for 6 years. And they came to the YMCA and they say, "Hey, I vote here," and I had to give them a printout and say, "No, you got to go to Mead Street." Now, of those 15 voters, I talked to the folks over at Mead Street. I think maybe 8 or 9 went over there. But you lost voters who walked to the Y, who didn't want to walk an extra 5 minutes to Mead Street because they live on Main Street and they don't want to go farther. And the Y is the most obvious voting place, at least in that section of Main Street. And so, and then the way it's structured on Murray Ave, the Murray Ave apartments and the end of Irving Street where I live, the Chatham Street apartments up to the where the school building is, those neighborhoods, what's called Crown Hill, usually vote at the Murray Ave apartments. Literally across the street from the Murray Ave apartments are buildings who don't vote in the Murray Ave apartments. They have to go and walk to the wire to Mead Street. And I think the way that those lines were drawn, they weren't partisanly drawn, but I think they were overdrawn. And we've talked, and this has been something, and this goes back to then what led to the lawsuit for the school committee and yada, yada, yada. We could talk about this all day, but it goes really to Tom Marino's theory. And yes, Mark, I'm giving Tom Marino full credit for this. Mark's watching. Mark Henderson's in there tonight. Tom has talked about the fact that we have 6 at-large seats, which really makes our city map weird. We should have more district seats than at-larges, right? We should probably have 8 districts and 3 at-larges, which would create a more evenly spaced map and would change the way the precincts are designed. But that's a whole nother argument for a whole nother year,
Yeah. And Sarah, it was like almost exactly 10%, 11,489.
Yeah, it was 10% on the 10.02%. Right? Is that what it was?
I math it wrong. Yeah, no, I mean 11.4 change of 114.8 change. I got 10.000 something.
0 on the thing on the sheet.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I don't think there's any massive change. I think as Mark just said, I don't think this really changes anybody's calculus on whether to run. How to run. Maybe it changes some people's decision on whether to run for mayor or not for the extra exposure.
Yeah, and Mark's right. I mean, that is the theory that people have talked about with Donna in the past, that running for mayor gets you more exposure. But again, we don't have there's no data to back that up. But Donna has finished in the top 6 for 8 sessions, 10 sessions.
No, it's not that long.
She's been in council for 8 years? 10 years.
Third election. No. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. I'm it's late at night. No, this would be 8 years if she wins this. If she gets it. Okay. That's it's close. There's a lot of 2-year sections being thrown around.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, I mean, it felt important to come on to cover the results, but I mean, yeah.
I don't think it's in. I do think it's very important to point out the strength of Gemma Kamara. That is a
story for sure. That's a
significant thing in Worcester. I think that it would be really hard to. I don't know. I want to congratulate her because she worked her butt off. That's really
Oh,
it's really
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
the numbers prove that. And then there's some rumblings there. I do think there is some rumblings. I don't know what it ends up being because we don't know how district races ever are going to shape out in the city of Worcester. You have no idea. The only one that's ever been really consistent has been District 4, right? District 4 has been. Sarah, I don't know that the Republican thing plays in Worcester because Donna's not a real Republican,
Yeah,
not in the sense that you would want to say that. She just isn't. So she gave a public statement against the Republican City Committee when they tried to pull that thing with immigration. So Donna came out and smashed them. You know what I mean? Like, and it was the best statement. I would say Donna Calorio's statement against the Republican City Committee was stronger than any of the Democrats. It's not even close. She wrecks them. Go back and read that. Go back and read that statement. So she's not. She's not a Trump person. Like, that's just not the same thing. So I don't think that plays. I would say the number one takeaway is Gemma Kamara.
yeah, absolutely,
She
absolutely.
hit
I'm saying,
hit a home
there's
run.
right. Uh, yeah, one seat could, there's an open seat, and then it's a strong showing for her for sure. I'm not trying to take away. I'm saying, what I mean by man is just, there's nothing all that surprising.
No, I mean Gary's a unicorn, and Jamo is the strong
He's a hard worker.
campaigner that we said that. And by the way, we go back to her school committee win. People forget about that school committee win the first time. She did the same exact thing. She just dogged it and kicked some butt and won. And then she lost in a surprising result. I think that her loss in the last election was surprising, and I think I don't want to overanalyze because I don't know more than what she's put out, but her own thing was she had to work harder, and she did. She said, I'm going to come back even stronger next time you see me. She hit a home run. You got a scoreboard for Gemma Coleman.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and Gary's a unicorn.
Gary's a unicorn.
Gary, I'm going to buy him a T-shirt. I think I know, and it's going to be accidentally given to him. I can't actually give it to him directly, right? Can't give him anything, but I'm going to get him a Gary the Unicorn Rosen T-shirt because that's what he is. We got to get a picture of Gary with a unicorn head because I think that would be pretty cool.
All right then. So I'm good if you are.
Yeah, I'm good. Just I wanted to get on and do instant analysis. It was good time. And also, I would say this to everybody, please, whether it's on social media or in person, when you see the folks that are working, because it's a day. I was there at 5:30, and then I left City Hall at 9:30. It's a long, miserable day. It's a real thing. So just thank a poll worker. Thank them because and they need more. If you're really interested in helping, they're short like 10 or 15 people, and it may seem like, oh, but John, there wasn't a high turnout. What does that mean? Well, just to give you an example, now I'm experienced. I've been doing it for a long time, so I can cover all the jobs. But even at my precinct, we only had 3 inspectors. Normally, there's a 4th inspector, and the clerk, and then the warden, right? And so, if there was a higher turnout, it's harder to make sure they all get their breaks and lunches. And it's a long day. They're exhausted. It's a 13, 14-hour day, and you're really, really tired at the end of the day, even though you don't do a ton of heavy lifting. We're not working in coal mines, but nobody else wants to do it. Right. So those folks, and Mark, I get plenty of credit. I don't need any thanks. I'm saying that, talk to it. And then Nico, Nico was at City Hall at 4:00 this morning. And when I left at 9:30, Nico was still there. So we do have a city clerk that works really hard. I do think the elections department does a good job in the city of Worcester. And Tom and I get this reputation sometimes for always hammering things. You got to give it to the clerk's office, and you got to give it to the elections department. They did a really good job today.
Yeah, I love to complain about late public records requests, but I asked for something that they got back to me and said, yeah, I'm happy to do that, but election, and I was like, oh, it was something from the clerk, and it's going to take a little bit. They just had to chase down some documents, really, but they were like, yeah, sure, but election, can you wait? I was like, yep, I can.
Yeah, election, yeah. Yeah.
Yep, I
Yeah.
can't because that seems like hell for Nico, and
And
of course everybody else that's working.
I also want to say I think this is a secure election, because and I think that's important to say because obviously you hear a lot of stuff all the time on the internet all the time, but I'm just saying from my own personal viewpoint, the ballots come in, they're hand counted, they're then recounted by 5 people. The officer has to unlock and lock them in a bag, so there's no like ballots being handed out. 30 ballots went into the box, and I personally hand counted 30 ballots coming out of the box. They went into a secure bag that was locked up, and then blah blah blah. So I mean, it was a secure result that I saw with my eyes on, and it was done on camera in front of a group of 6 people. So I think that that's something to say too, is that the elections department does do a good job, and they're a trustworthy group that needs help. They need more help. It's pretty balanced. By the way, we have a Republican on our team. I'm an unenrolled voter. I've always been unenrolled. And then we have Democrats. They got along, even though people are talking. It's the natural part of elections. This idea sucks, and that idea sucks, and this person sucks. It was all that, and people still got through it and did a really good job.
All right, thank you for joining us. I hope this was of some value. Have a great rest of your week.
Bonus time. We don't get bonus Tom's favorite things though, but we'll do that on Sunday. Yeah.
Yep. We're back on Sunday at 8:30, and we'll of course include John's favorite part of the show. Until then,